Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack here. Tuesday now, the 12th of November, 2024. Got to be very serious today. It is time, I believe, to sound the alarms on something that looks like it's going to develop. I think it's all but a guarantee that we're going to get a significant development now in the Western Caribbean. And look, if you've watched my videos for any amount of time, you know I rarely put up anything like that in terms of a thumbnail, any kind of a headline that's alarmist or clickbaity, whatever you want to call it. You do that too many times and people just don't take you seriously, and everything's just 5-alarm fire. That's not the case with what we do here at HurricaneTrack. So when I put something out like this, you know that it must be pretty serious. So let's get on with it, and let's take a look first at the National Hurricane Center. This is our area of interest here, somewhere in the vicinity of Jamaica, between there. I'll show you on satellite in just a minute. But look, it's up to 60% over the next 2 days. I think it'll actually get going pretty soon, and then 90% over the next 5, or 7, or whatever it is. This is all but a done deal. This is going to develop. Now, one interesting thing here, let me look at the actual text product down here, because I want to highlight a couple of things. This last part right through here, when they talk about how it's going to be developing from a depression and so forth, and it's going to meander over the Western Caribbean Sea through the weekend, and then this part, I'm going to switch this over to red. The system is forecast to begin moving slowly northwestward by early next week. Very, very interesting, because northwest, of course, is what the models are starting to show, and that is what is giving everybody all the concern from this system. We can see that reflected in the 7-day outlook here, a movement kind of milling around over here and then off to the northwest with time. So that is the setup. So let's look at it on satellite animation this afternoon, courtesy of Tropical Tidbits. Use the yellow coloring here. A few areas that are kind of interesting out there. First, the leftovers of Raphael sitting in here somewhere. There's another little swirly area right here. None of these areas have anything to do with this. This is the area of interest, not quite yet an invest area as we call it. By the way, when it does get designated as an invest, the number will be 99. So we're going to be at 99L. The infamous 99L. Those always seem to be ones that are, in one way or another, a big pain in the butt. And I think this is going to be no different. Here's what everything looks like. Closer up, showers and thunderstorms, what we call convection, starting to bubble up around this feature as the pressures gradually begin to lower. The air starts to rush in. The process is beginning. Interesting little swirl right there north of Honduras, Nicaragua, east of Belize and the Yucatan. Just a naked swirl. And then, speaking of naked swirls, the leftovers of Raphael up there in the Gulf of Mexico. Vorticity signature-wise, you can clearly pick out all these pieces of energy that are out there. The tropics are very busy right now with just all kinds of energy trying to bundle up. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen with our feature here over the coming days. So let's just jump right into the modeling. This is the GFS. 12Z run today, 5,000 foot level of the atmosphere, showing us that vorticity, the low level structure. To me, I've talked about this for many years, if it looks good, healthy, meteorologically speaking, at the bottom, the structure part, the lower 5,000 feet or so, what we call 850 millibars, if the foundation is there, then everything above that, if conditions allow, can build up. And that's what we look at. These things have to generally build from the bottom up. If you don't have a good low-level center, everything else doesn't matter. It's like the perfect wedding cake. Everything has to be perfectly lined up. And we start with the bottom of the atmosphere, or at least close to it anyway. 5,000 feet, close enough. So 12Z run, this is the energy we're looking at right down here. There's that little piece of vorticity, the little naked swirl. There's the leftovers of Raphael sitting in there. So let's just jump this out 24 hours. There we go. This is tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Clearly starting to get better organization with our feature right in here, somewhere in the vicinity of Jamaica. Another 24 hours, so we're now at 48 hours. I mean, it's well on its way. You're almost like, oh, I don't even want to see the next. Well, let's do it anyway. 24 hours later, hour 72. This is Friday morning. Well developed right off the coast of Honduras, Nicaragua. We can see what the surface pressure is, 984. That could be a hurricane already in just 3 days. And furthermore, wait till you see this. The upper levels, absolutely textbook perfect. I don't think you can draw it any better. This is perfectly situated right under the anticyclone itself, the upper level anticyclone, or ULAC as we like to call it in the biz. The jet energy over here helping to whisk the mass amounts of air away from this feature. I'm telling you what, for those that know. We look at this and we go, oh my, that has the makings. Well, look, that's why I put this. It's time to sound the alarms when you see that. And, we're certainly interested in Florida, of course, but this has huge implications for the Cayman Islands, maybe Jamaica, almost certainly Cuba. And don't forget, I talked about this recently too, the cruise industry, they got all kinds of ships down here. And some kind of a strong hurricane, you don't need that. Nobody's got time for that, that's for sure. So that's 72 hours. At 96, it just keeps going and going, really starts to come together there. And by 120 hours out, that's 5 days. It is just on the way. This could be a very powerful hurricane. And at this point in time, it is generally jammed in down there because of high pressure over the southeast, kind of blocking it. It's just sitting there over very warm, deep upper ocean heat content, all that stuff. That upper level anticyclone, still there. Everything's very favorable. No doubt about it. Now, let's do something that I don't normally do because I think it's important to bring up some possibilities that people do need to think about where they might need a few extra days. All right? So we're going to leave me on as I talk to you here because I like that phrase. I want to talk to you and not just at you. So that's 120 hours. Let's take it out to day 7. So there's day 7 right there, 168 hours. It's in the Yucatan Channel. It's a very powerful hurricane at this point. GFS, a global model, has it down to 942 millibars. Compact, very intense hurricane. The upper levels, again, just making sure everything makes sense. Just ideal. The jet configuration around it, it's just, again, that's why I have the headline that I do. Now, let's move this on out to days, that's day 7. This is day 8 right here. There's day 8. That's just 24 hours later. Big front's coming in. Whole upper pattern over North America is going to be wild next week. And that starts to turn this thing towards Florida. Now, normally talking about a day 8 forecast doesn't make a lot of sense because a lot can change. Absolutely it can. But I want to bring up a very important point. And this is part of where my experience and my work in geography and everything really comes to play. Think about the fact that this is November 20th on the marker up there, the date. That is a week before Thanksgiving, basically. It is not peak time of hurricane season. So what has happened in Florida since the last 2 months? Obviously, we've had Helene and Milton. Hurricanes notwithstanding, what else has happened? A lot of people have come from the north, the snowbirds, as they are affectionately referred to, and they have settled in Florida. So I need to do some research on this, and this is where I could use your help. One of the few times that I'll ask you to comment in the YouTube comments, yes, boost the engagement by all means, because I want to know. How many of you watching this video are down in Florida who weren't there a few weeks ago because it wasn't time yet? You know what I mean? That you came from the north or wherever, pretty much that's the only place you can come from, and you've migrated back down to Florida as part of the annual pilgrimage for the snowbirds. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm genuinely curious because I think there could be a lot more people down here, and here's the point, that have little to no hurricane experience. Why? Most of the snowbirds aren't in Florida when we're at peak season. It's just that simple. Most of the hurricanes happen in August and September statistically. The irony is Florida has more major hurricanes in October. I mean, we saw that this year with Milton, living up to that. But beyond October, once you get into the last part of November, and November 20th begins the last third of the month, let me remind you, most people aren't thinking hurricanes, and they're back in Florida. I believe this could be a big problem. So help me out. Enlighten me if I'm off. People usually come down after Thanksgiving. There's about 20% more. That's about it. Whatever. I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. Because if this were to come to pass, and this comes right through Florida like that, that could be a huge headache for a lot of people that just don't know what they're dealing with. So we're going to need to think about that. Now look, We can hope all we want, Cuba's, demise notwithstanding, that it hooks like that, maybe like Michelle did, very close to that path in 2001. But hope, I've said this, hope is not a planning tool. You can hope all you want. I'm not going to tell you don't hope, but that is not a plan. And we need to make sure we are ready for something like this if it were to come to pass. Because just look at this as we started over. The evolution of that is absolutely remarkable. It really is, even out to day 7. And if we look at it down at the lower levels, and you watch how this comes together as an intense hurricane, wow. Absolutely mind-boggling there, especially that we're getting into the last days of the hurricane season. The Euro, this is the 6Z run, very similar evolution out to 90 hours, no surprises there. The background state's not going to change. This is going to happen. We're going to get a very intense hurricane in the Caribbean. We just don't know where it's going to end up. All right, I'm on record. I believe this will happen. I just don't know where it's going to end up. Nobody does. So let's take a look at a couple of other people and what they're saying. This is my friend, never met him, but internet friend, John. And this is important. I talked about this a little bit too. The development of the tropical cyclone down there certainly is possible in the Caribbean later this week if the storm does organize. Very important here. The environment will become extremely favorable for strengthening by early next week. John's another one of these people that doesn't just throw stuff out there to boost his engagement. He has no need for that. We all see it. Everybody that knows what to look for, and that's the map. This is just a different version of it, and that is a very favorable environment. Add to that, and John mentions this in his post, that is the upper ocean heat content. It is ridiculously high. The water temperatures are above normal. You've heard me talk about this over and over and over. None of that has changed, and here we are. We couldn't get a hurricane to speak of in parts of August and into September. Now the possibility of churning out a potentially record-setting hurricane, we'll see. Maybe a little ahead of myself on that one, but boy, all the makings of it seem to be there, and it's freaking towards the end of November. It is just bizarre, to say the least, but not unexpected. Honestly, with the La Nina setting in, this does at least make some meteorological sense. Another very important post here from Kieran. 12Z GFS forecast for Saturday morning is showing a major hurricane, the name of course would be Sarah, in the Caribbean Sea. The last 3 GFS runs are developing consistency and intensity plus location for the potential tropical system for Saturday. And we can see that. This is your trend, and it has been very consistent on this, deeper and deeper and deeper with the pressure there, as we call it. And this is interesting too. The location for the potential tropical system, note the very hot sea surface temperatures in the region. And he goes on to say, now, certainly, we know this, and I'm glad he brought it up, there is a chance that Sarah to be never makes it out of the Caribbean Sea. Yes, that is possible. And into the Gulf. That might not even happen. But if a hurricane does reach the Gulf, it will be greeted by the warmest sea surface temperatures on record for this time of year. Shockingly, and I talked about this the last couple of updates, the Gulf has only warmed over the last 3 weeks. And we know this because of the science. We have information that shows us this stuff. And it is warmer than it should be. Overall, I've showed you that. And it is warmed up in recent times. I've also showed you that. And we can look at that. This is a nice plot. This is what it looks like on a map. There's your 26 Celsius line right there. And, that's about 80 degrees in Florida. And isn't it ironic? This is the area that the GFS is bringing it into. And lo and behold, the water temperatures are right back where they should be to support a hurricane, roughly 26 Celsius. The loop current edging its way up here through the Yucatan Channel, that's 29 Celsius. I'm telling you, folks, that's exactly why I thought it was important to put an attention-grabbing headline up today, because we might be dealing with something that could be one of those ones where we could just go, I can't believe that happened. I'm not saying I'm wrong because I'm not forecasting anything, but maybe none of this happens. But if it does, we need to be darn sure we're on top of it for the Caribbean first, and then perhaps for Florida later. All right? As I talked about yesterday, I'm traveling later today up to New York City, meetings with Fox Weather tomorrow, so no update tomorrow. You'll be okay. There's more information out there than just me. You know that. Come on. But I will be back Thursday. In fact, we will do a live update on YouTube Thursday morning, because by then this will probably be well on its way. And oh yeah, we're going to really need to be talking about it. So I'll look to see you again Thursday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, which will probably have Sarah by that time, and we will know a lot more, even in just 2 days. All right? As always, thank you for tuning in from all of us at Hurricane Track. I am, of course, Mark Sudduth. I'll talk to you again Thursday morning.